Good evening from the Global Forum in Markt Oberdorf. Dear viewers, a very warm welcome to the Fendt Spotlight Weeks, where today we're going to discuss everything surrounding making great quality silage. As we all know, the quality of your silage has a direct impact on the output of your dairy herd. Consequently, the quality of your silage impacts the success of your business.
The current drastic rises in feed costs are an enormous challenge for dairy cattle businesses. Depending on the business, feed costs make up 30 to 60% of total costs for milk production. In order to produce milk profitably, optimizing feed costs is more important than ever. Silage and feed intake play a decisive role here. Whoever has high silage outputs usually has lower feed costs and higher milk yields. A comparison of economic evaluations made by Agrar heute shows that there is a difference between businesses with low silage outputs and businesses with high silage outputs of between 1 and 9 cents in feed costs per liter of milk, depending on the federal state. With an average milk output of 8,500 kilograms, this is equivalent to 85 to 765 euros per cow. How can we get more milk output from silage? It all begins with the feed quality, and this is where a few adjustments can be made. Optimal composition of the grass stock, the ideal cutting time, clean harvesting conditions and procedures, the right storage and covering, and feed retrieval with a sufficient feed rate. Consequently, feed quality offers unique potential for financial success.
And I'm going to discuss how harvesting machinery has a direct effect on the quality of the silage with my colleagues Hendrik Deppe and Christoph Wiemann. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Before we get going, I'd like to talk about Fendt as a full-line manufacturer. Hendrik, we're much more than just tractor manufacturers these days, aren't we?
That's right. Historically, Fendt has always been strong in tractors. But what good is the best tractor without accessories? And we've got a real variety of these, from drum mowers and disc mowers to round and squared bales. Forage wagons, 1, 2, or multi-rotor rakes, from the alpine area up to large-scale machines.
And Christoph, are the accessories properly customized for our tractors?
Of course they are, Christiana. Everything comes from a single source, and everything is optimally coordinated. For example, take our forage wagon portfolio, starting with the ST, a low-loader swing trailer which goes ideally with our 200 Vario for alpine use, up to our large rotor loaders from the Tigo XR class, which can take up to 3,000 Newton-meters of torque and 500 bhp, perfect for our 1,050 Vario.
That sounds good. And a perfectly coordinated combination is just what we need in grassland. This is where everything has to go hand in hand. And now we're going to look at how this all works in practice. We paid a visit to the Lanzinger family's business. Hi, Bernhard.
Hello, Christiane.
Nice to see you, and thanks for your time. Can you tell me a bit about your farm?
Yes, we are here in Staffing, municipality of Dorfen, in the district of Erding. As I said, in the deepest province of Upper Bavaria. My wife and I are now the 4th generation to run the family farm. We keep 140 dairy cows on our farm and have been managing the farm organically since 2014, according to the guidelines of the Organic Farming Association.
How is the area structured?
There are about 50 hectares of grassland that we use in 5 sections, and the rest is arable land.
And how do you milk?
We milk with 2 milking robots and have been doing so since 2005.
You just said you have switched to organic. What is the composition of your rations?
We mainly feed grass, silage in winter. In summer, we have to feed fresh grass, of course. In future, we will also drive the lactating dairy cows out to pasture. But as I said, most of it is grass silage and hay as basic feed. And in winter, also about 20% of the fresh mass in maize silage.
When it comes to grass silage, where do you place particular emphasis?
Because we are an organic farm, we find it difficult to buy concentrated feed. Also because it is enormously expensive. Therefore, it is important that we produce high-quality grass silage that has good ingredients, so that the basic feed milk yield is correspondingly high.
And what parameters do you pay particular attention to?
On the one hand, the silage is always harvested when it is as early as possible, that is, at the optimal time as far as the weather permits. And the other thing is that we also try to introduce very little contamination into the silage because this inhibits feed intake and is also very unfavorable for animal health if the contamination is high. And that's why we have our own powerful mechanization so that we can use the ideal moment.
Hendrik, we're standing in front of one of our slicer disc mowers. Here is where everything begins, so to speak, namely with mowing. Could you explain the products to us, please?
Of course. We are standing in front of the latest generation of our front mowers, the Slicer 310 FKC. KC means with tine conditioners, and we've also got a version without a conditioner, or with a roller conditioner, the RC. But before we go into a few highlights of the machine, let's take a look at the critical sticking points concerning feed contamination when mowing.
What are the main sticking points?
Firstly, this would be correctly setting the cutting height, the suspension system, and adjusting to the ground. And for this, with our Slicer 310F, we've got a floating axle suspended with a perfect center of gravity, which enables us to perform a lateral swing of 7.5 degrees to the direction of travel. What is also new in the mower is the mower bed, which, thanks to its flat structure, enables a really clean and sharp cut. Secondly, the mower bed stands out thanks to its exceptional smoothness and has been designed to be very durable. And with a drive speed of just 850 revolutions, we are very fuel efficient.
I'd like to come back again to the pendulum movement because here in Bavaria we've got pretty hilly grassland. Are there any adaptations that will make it easier for me to drive there?
Not on the mower, but for customers with hilly land and an even greater need to adjust to the ground, we have our FQ series. The 310 FQ-KC is here next to me. As you can guess from the name, we had 310 for our mower with the pendulum block. The same mower bed is installed, but here we have what we call a touch swing trestle, which allows us to use 3D kinematics. With 3D, not only can we swing transversely, but also longitudinally. And thanks to the automatic regulation of the mower bar, we can also mow cleanly in hollows or on crests. We are especially proud of our lateral adjuster. Using these cylinders, we can shift our mower unit 20 centimeters to the right or 20 centimeters to the left. We need to do this to guarantee an optimal overcut for our rear mowers when in corners or when mowing on a slope.
You've just spoken about that. In addition to front mowers, we also have rear mowers. We'll see each other again at the rake. I'm making my way over to Christoph now. We've just heard how important the overcut is. What's it like for rear mowers?
When redeveloping our butterfly mower, we definitely considered the overcut. For example, here is our Slicer 860. You can see two positions on the support arm where we can fix two suspended mowing units in the middle. On the outer position, we are able to reach our maximum working width of 8.6 meters. In the middle position, each mowing unit moves inwards by 15 centimeters. This allows us to reduce the working width by 30 centimeters, but to raise our overcut on the front mower from 41 to a very helpful 56 centimeters. This means we also have enough in reserve to get every stalk, even on slopes or when in corners.
That sounds like a great feature, but that isn't really the focus of the development, is it?
No, that's an added extra, so to speak. The focus in this machine was on providing the market with a very agile machine with a large working width. The more agile the machine, the easier it is to keep the tractor on a slope, because there is less mass to be pushed downwards. And because mowing is often still done with our customers' own machines, we also wanted to make it possible for farms with smaller tractors to exploit their harvest season optimally with large working widths and larger area output.
Agile seems to be a key word here, but what does it mean for you exactly?
This mowing combination only weighs 1,615 kilograms.
And where have you fine-tuned it to make it even more agile?
We've done more than just fine-tune it. As we've already said, this is a completely new design. This starts with the center mounting, which has been kept very slim in order to strengthen the highly stressed points on this mounting and to save weight, but not at the expense of durability. We were also able to save more weight by reworking our collision protection. The jaws are coupled directly to the lower link. Even with this feature, we've still got our great deflection behavior to the rear and above in order to protect our mowing units. We were also able to save lots of weight with our hydro-pneumatic suspension system called Turbo Lift. Because compared to a spring-based suspension system, we're much lighter because we hardly have to install any extra components.
And what is turbo lift exactly?
Hendrik already mentioned it at the beginning. Basically, we have three factors that influence mowing: cut height, ground adjustment, and the suspension of the mower bed. Using these cylinders underneath, which otherwise keep the mowing head in the working position, we provide a preload using a pressure accumulator. This transfers the weight from the mower bed to the support arm, the center mounting, and ultimately to the tractor.
Okay, so I've just mowed my grass. What would then follow this work in order for me to meet my dry matter requirement?
Normally, we'd now ted the grass with our tedder. We have a large portfolio of tedders divided into two ranges: the Twister and the Lotus. Here today, we've got our high-performance tedder, the Lotus 1250T.
And what makes it a high-performance tedder?
There are a few points here, such as the precise tracking, thanks to the point of articulation displaced to the rear of the machine. Also, the very robust design of these machines and the extraordinarily high working speeds. And we focused on the topic of feed quality. The tines are particularly important here because they have contact with the feed and the ground. Let's take a closer look. We can see that these are not simple tines that run straight along the ground, but they are angled downwards, which creates a very large surface area to the ground. Combined with the towing arrangement, even when the ground is uneven, the tines simply move up and don't go into the ground. This means we can guide the tines over the ground and safely take up the feed material while avoiding contaminating the feed.
Okay, that sounds good. Thanks to tedding the crop, we have now reached our desired dry matter content. Carrying on from there, we would now rake the crop up, so to speak. And Hendrik's now standing by the former 7850 Pro. Tell me about this machine.
The former 7850 Pro is our top model among side swathe rakes. As with the tedders, when raking, we also want to avoid the tines getting stuck in the ground. With all our multi-rotor rakes, we do this using our so-called cardanic suspension. On our rotor suspension, we have one fixed point at the front and a slot at the rear. This gives us a bit of play and flexibility at the rear. When lifting the rotor, this allows us to raise the front section forwards initially and then at the rear. When lowering, exactly the opposite. Or better said, we lower the rear first and then the front, a little bit like a plane on a runway during landing.
That sounds good. What other features can you show me?
We've got a side swathe rake here. This means we want to move the entire crop on the 7.8 meter working width to the right side, which is why we always have a certain overlap in the center between the rotors. Now you could say we haven't got enough clearance there, but that's not the case, because our cam control counteracts it. The cam control is a kind of head position which adjusts the tines when taking bends. Look, The tines are raised here, and they are open in the front, and the cam control reverses this when the rotor is lifted. This means, at the front, in the front area, or in the center area, under the rakes, we achieve higher clearance, and don't damage the existing swaths already lying on the field, and don't separate these. With Fendt, this is not just automatic. We can also set curves manually on the following machine. This creates good performance for the Rotana baler or the Tigo forage wagon.
Right, so now we've completed our 3 working steps, mowing, tedding and raking, and have really done so with as little contamination of the feed as possible. Now we follow with collection, and this is where the Tigo would come into play. But before we go into detail, let's look at how the Lanzinger family work in practice. So you harvest your grass completely yourself. You're self-sufficient. What technique do you use for that?
We use 2 Tigo forage wagons from Fendt for silage collection. And for hay and straw collection, we have a variable chamber Rotana round baler. We also make round silage bales with it on a small scale.
And when does that happen? When do you make round silage bales?
So for hay and straw collection, and sometimes we also make silage bales for some small areas. Because we feed a lot of grass in the summer and part of the area is too old in terms of growth, we also make round bales.
And what do you particularly like about the Rotana when you're making bales?
The Rotana has a 25-blade cutting unit. This is good for a round baler because you can cut short with it and compact the bales very tightly. And that is also very important for a successful fermentation.
But you bring in the largest proportion of grass silage with the forage wagon, right?
Yeah.
And what do you particularly like about the Tigo?
The Tigo loader trailers offer us excellent cutting quality and have a high loading volume with small dimensions and are still very light in terms of their empty weight. The tires are great. They have a very good chassis, so the pressure on the ground is also very low. On the road, they have very good handling, which is also very important for us because we often have to cover longer distances with our smaller structures. And the Tigo offers many advantages for us.
I want to ask you about the quality of the cut again. How does it have a decisive influence on the forage quality?
The grass can be optimally compacted in the silo only when it's cut short. And only when it is well compacted does an optimal fermentation process begin, and then high-quality silage can then be produced.
You mentioned that your fields are really small, but what sort of size are we talking about here?
We have some permanent grassland that is only 1 hectare in size. A tractor-loader combination like this is very maneuverable, and it suits our region or our farm much better than a chopper chain. As I said, this is the province of Upper Bavaria where we live, and it is also very hilly in parts, so the favorable power-to-weight ratio that the Tigo has is ideal, because you have to move less dead weight despite the high load volume.
So now you're ready for the new season, right? When does the season really start?
It still has to get a bit warmer, and if there is enough rainfall, then in a few weeks we will be ready to make the first cuts.
Well, great. I hope you have a lot of fun with that, and all the best for the green season. Thanks so much for taking the time to show me your farm.
You're welcome.
Bernhard Lanzinger is particularly keen on the light design of the Tigo. Is that also its outstanding feature?
Yes, this was actually the focus when we developed our Fendt Tigo. 10 years ago, we introduced the movable front wall. This allows us to use the space above the rotor, which makes our vehicle more compact and lighter. If you look at the forage wagon market today, I think our engineers were true pioneers back then with the movable front wall. But not all movable front walls are the same.
Why is that?
Let's take a look at our front wall. We've got our trough shape here, which is still patented. Only we can continue to guide the feed cleanly into the loading bay, which optimizes our loading. We also load the center of the vehicle particularly heavily, and we avoid overloading at the sides on the side plates. This means we definitely won't lose any material during transport on the roads. One other point is the really simple and efficient automatic loading system. We want to have an easily adjustable automatic loading system that provides optimal loading results without the driver doing anything. We simply record the pressure applied directly to our front wall via the 2 hydraulic cylinders and provide this visually to the driver in the terminal. Then they can directly compare the current pressure versus the target pressure. Then they can check what the load looks like in the wagon. They can continuously react quickly and efficiently to achieve optimal loading.
Okay, I now understand the concept of the front wall and the automatic loading system, but what other possibilities are there to save weight?
Yes, we've thought of a few more features here, of course. As we've already mentioned, with our Tigo XR series, we've developed the Forage wagon to be able to take up to 500 bhp from the tractor. This requires an extremely sound powertrain and a fixed housing. We've been able to save on this housing here by completely integrating the powertrain in the solid chassis frame.
At the beginning of the harvest chain, we spoke about variables that have a direct influence on the feed quality. So what are these during the collection stage?
Our variables on the collection equipment look a little different. First of all, we pick the grass up cleanly. We need good cut quality and a high throughput in order to use our harvesting windows optimally and to close up our silage pit quickly.
I'd like to come back to the issue of collecting the crop. Tell me about the special features the Tigo has for this.
Yes, of course. For clean collection, we need the pickup to be guided perfectly. We have one jockey wheel on the right and left, which guides the pickup. But even in adverse conditions, where a jockey wheel could sink into the tractor tracks, we also have a jockey roller directly behind the pickup, which takes over the guidance and avoids the pickup tines from getting stuck in the ground, thus avoiding dirt from getting into the feed.
Another important point for the forage wagon is the cut quality. What can the Tigo offer here?
The cutting gap is important for the cut quality. Our Fendt Tigo has a cutting gap of just 3.5 millimeters. This means we don't give the feed any space to dodge the knife and get into the loading bay and cut. This fine cutting gap is associated with our broad rotor fingers. This rotor finger is 25 millimeters wide. This means we have an extremely large contact area for the feed, which is easier on the feed and is also easier on the structure. Consequently, the structure is retained for our cows.
We now have quite a few solutions when it comes to the physical design of the machine. Are there also any smart features in the Tigo?
Of course, especially where we can see the Fendt Tigo combination again with our Fendt Vario. TIM is the keyword. Our tractor implement management, or our forage wagon, takes control here and tells the tractor how fast it has to go to optimally utilize the wagon.
Christoph, I can really tell how enthusiastic you are when you talk about the Tigo. It's similar for our subcontractor, Nadine Lieker. She also uses Fendt forage wagons, and she swears by the combination of a tractor and Fendt Tigo.
Contractor Nadine Lieker from Trebel in Lower Saxony sets on large loader wagons.
Groß muss er sein, viel Masse muss er mitkriegen. Gerade bei diesem Kunden speziell ist es so, Masse muss mit. Er hat nicht viele Sensoren, es ist einfache Technik, die funktioniert. Kann sich darauf verlassen. Ja, meinen Lohnbetrieb mache ich mit 4 Festangestellten, meine Wenigkeit. Immer überall mal ein bisschen mitmachen. Und dann habe ich noch 3 Aushilfen auf kleinen Jobzulauf, 450 €. Ja, und dann kriegen wir das eigentlich immer gut hin zusammen alle. Zu meinen Dienstleistungen gehört eben das Kartoffelpflanzen. Damit geht es dann so los. Maisling hinterher. Dann halt die ganze Grüngutbergung. Dann kommt der Katana, 65 Fendt-Häcksler haben wir auch noch. Der ist aber meistens nur im Mais unterwegs, also im Gras ganz wenig. Und dann halt viel Transport. Also ich habe 6 Triebwagen mittlerweile mit Schleppern zusammen als Gespanne.
At Nadine's contractor business, only the newest technology is being used.
Also meinen ersten Tigo, den habe ich vor 2 Jahren bekommen und den habe ich auch bis letztes Jahr behalten und dann habe ich sie diesen Winterjahr, habe ich den alten Tigo wieder abgegeben und habe 2 dieselben bekommen und die machen ungefähr je Wagen 1000 Stunden im Jahr. Also bei meinen beiden Tigos war mir besonders wichtig, bei der Ausstattung, wo ich sie gekauft habe, halt die hydraulisch angetriebene Pick-up. Deswegen habe ich meinen alten Wagen auch eingetauscht, damit 2 gleiche kommen. Elektronische Zwangslenkung ist für mich sehr wichtig. Keine Walzen ist für mich wichtig, schnell leer werden, Volumen mitnehmen.
The latest technical assistance is the Tractor Implement Management, or TIM for short. This means that the loader wagon controls the tractor.
Also wir nutzen TIM jetzt ganz neu dieses Jahr und ich sehe die Vorteile im TIM, dass der Wagen den Schlepper reguliert. Wir haben auch einen 724 davor und da ist es eben wichtig, dass der Wagen dem Trecker sagt, wie doll geht's. Mit dem 900er ist es so, da kannst du schon Schub machen, das kannst du mit dem 700er auch, aber wenn der Wagen den Trecker steuert, braucht der Fahrer halt nicht immer langsam, schneller, das wird halt alles gemacht. Der Fahrer wird entlastet dabei, ne?
And the contractor also expects a lot from her drivers themselves.
Ich meine, das ist so, wir machen immer 100%ige Arbeit. Pünktlichkeit ist für mich das Wichtigste. Am besten immer eine halbe Stunde vorher da sein und 100%ig sauber. Das wissen meine Angestellten, könnte auch ein bisschen Ärger geben.
So either we drive our grass into the silo now with the Fendt Tigo, or we make silage bales, right?
That's right. We also offer optimal technology for silage bales. For example, our Rotana 130F Combi, a baler-wrapper combination that uses the fixed chamber principle. Historically, fixed chamber balers have been seen as the specialists for silage use. We want as little air in the bales as possible when baling, and an absolutely airtight seal externally after wrapping. We achieve this by using our asymmetrically shaped bale chamber. This isn't 100% round, but comes in a bit at the front. We achieve this with very high densities, relieving the rotor and simultaneously improving performance. We can also significantly reduce the air seal externally with mantle sheeting. Our rapid reload system enables us to use different combinations, whether they are film or netting or mixed, as shown here.
And what's the advantage of pre-assembled rolls?
It's really easy. In the best case, only one film or netting roller will be empty. Nevertheless, with conventional systems, I'd have to take off the empty roll and put on a full roll. That costs time, during which the machinery will be standing. And we will also lose the focus on our optimal harvest window for our optimal dry matter content. Using our system, we can simply put on a new roll by quickly turning the revolver here. Or, if we're out and about and have been baling with mantle sheeting for a customer, now we get to the next customer who prefers binding with netting. This conversion takes a lot of time, and we run a very high risk of damaging the sensitive end face of our film rolls. This can lead to binding faults, which will also lose time. We will lose our optimal dry matter content once again, and when baling, lose per hour, or better said, performance and money.
The way you put it, it's really simple, but I'd like to give it a try to see if it's really that simple to change them.
Go ahead. We only have to unlock the revolver, and as you can see, the roll at the back is always by the opening. Now you turn the sheeting roll out of the opening, and we bring our netting into the binding device.
Aha, done it.
Finished. Now we have to go onto the machine and guide the netting into the feeder rolls. And we're already done and have converted to netting.
Great. Now, we've definitely guaranteed a great air seal. Are there any other points on the baler that do this?
We've only gotten started making sure that no air gets into the bales. The biggest step is our wrapper at the rear. We use the binding material, or film rolls here, in order to optimally wrap the bales. Ideally, this means we guide the film roll exactly centered over the bales. In this way, we use our sheeting as efficiently as possible and ensure the most effective air seal on the bale. How can we achieve this? Before the bales go on the wrapping table, our wrapper knows how big the bale is. Okay, with a fixed chamber, we're very consistent here. But we also offer a variable baler-wrapper combination, where we can realize bale sizes ranging from 70 centimeters to 1.6 meters. If the wrapper already knows how big the bale is, it moves into the optimal position. So our bales are always wrapped centrally, and we can guarantee a perfect air seal.
Right, so you've just described the fixed chamber as a professional for silage bales. We can see a variable press behind me now. What's that used for?
Our variable machines stand out because they also don't have any problems with damp silage. But let's go over to the machine and take a look at a few details. Here's our Rotana 180V, which is a representative of our variable balers. Why are our variable balers also ideally suited for silage use? This is down to our additional drive system. Our 4 endless belts are driven by 2 drive rollers with a very high wrap angle. This guarantees fixed drive for the belts. The advantage of the variable press is flexibility. We can make bales ranging from 70 centimeters to 1.8 meters in size here. And we start early with rotation and compression. We can achieve even higher bale weights here than with the fixed chamber principle. But we also want to be able to press 1.6 meter to 1.8 meter hay or straw bales. And with hay especially, if we haven't reached our target dry matter figure yet, it's important that we can also ventilate these. This means we don't only have to be able to make really tight bales, we also have to make fluffy bales. This is why we have a soft center function and our constant pressure system, which monitors the pressure and permanently adjusts the machine. It also ensures the pressure is always adjusted to the increasing diameter of the bales. The result is always perfectly compressed bales.
And now we want to see the proof that the results really are perfect. Trade journalists have tested both the fixed chamber and the variable press. So let's take a look now.
The German agricultural magazine Agrar Heute tested the Fendt Rotana 130 as a fixed-chamber baler-wrapper combination in the autumn of 2020. The test conditions? Overhanging grass and bulging swaths on a field on a slope. Agrar Heute's verdict? The guys from Fendt are really onto something. In short, the test results show the Rotana 130F Combi makes bales safely even on slopes and sets them down gently. With the Fendt 1 operation and 12-inch terminal, the baler is comfortable to operate. Changing the twine reel is quick and easy with the winding ring lowered. The Rotana is fast. We couldn't manage to make a new bale faster. The bales are also reliably transferred to the wrapper on the slope. Conclusion: the Rotana can handle steep terrain without requiring too much power. The Fendt Rotana 160V Extra also scored well in the test. Austrian agricultural magazine Landwirt tested different variable round balers in the summer and autumn of 2020. The test conditions: all balers had to show that they were capable of handling wilted silage as well as baling well in straw. In short, the test results show, regardless of how difficult the conditions are, it is always able to net the bale. The test drivers were thrilled with the Fendt baler's work rate. In our comparison, the Fendt Rotana showed itself to be a good overall package. Conclusion, the Rotana 160V Extra delivered impressive overall performance with excellent ratings.
Well, when we're talking about perfect feed quality, then one thing can't be missing, the Fendt Katana. And chaps, I can see both of you are dying to show me how this machine works.
Exactly. Because the Fendt Katana is the key machine in forage harvesting technology. And let's be honest, in terms of throughput and cut quality, neither a round baler nor a forage wagon comes close to a field chopper.
And so why is the Katana the chopper of choice for grass?
This is where our Fendt QuadFlow 2.0 comes in, which we presented together with the Katana 650. This has been significantly reworked in terms of cut quality and throughput. This begins right at the front on the feed housing. 6 pre-compression rollers optimally compress the material, so we achieve perfect chopping quality on the drum. In the drums themselves, we can choose between 20, 28, or 40 blades, depending on the desired cut length area. What is particularly important in grass is a reliable and precise blade sharpening system. We have also completely redeveloped this together with the Katana 650. We sharpen over the entire blade area of the drum and don't only readjust on one side. This means we have even wear on the blades and are always parallel to the shear bar, resulting in perfect cut quality. Now we're finished with the grass harvest. We're only missing one process step, maize, and I think Hendrik can give us a few examples. To give the cows an ideal ration, maize is still missing, of course. So let's turn our thoughts to the maize harvest. Let's consider our crackers in the crop flow. We've got a number of options here with a roller diameter of 300 millimeters, so we have a large processing area between the rollers. We can also play with the RPM here and increase the processing intensity a little. We can use a variety of different speeds here by setting different pulleys of between 30 and 40%. The profile of our air cracker is a highly efficient sawtooth profile. For example, for long cuts, we have our RS tractor with an additional grooved spiral nut. The last part of the crop flow is our chute arc. At a loading height of 6.2 meters, it also manages to conjure up a heap on the biggest Tigo.
That sounds perfect. All the products are perfectly coordinated with each other, and we've gone through the entire harvest chain. Thank you very much for your introduction, Hendrik and Christoph. And to visualize everything once again, let's take a look at all the machines in action now. So, dear viewers, either you're right in the middle of the first cut or you're just about to start. I wish you all the best for this. Next week, we want to answer a few questions that you've asked us during the Spotlight Weeks. So I hope you tune in here again. Now I'd like to say goodbye from us at the Global Forum and goodbye from Markt Oberdorf.